Hello, welcome to Bourbon in House. My name is Tristan Blair. I'm here at Eleve in Walnut Creek, California, and tonight I'm reviewing the Elijah Craig Small Batch Bourbon, aged 12 years. This, in my opinion, is one of my top probably 20 bourbons. Until I started really drinking bourbon as 2 or 3 years ago, I hadn't heard a lot about this bourbon. It's not one of the biggies. I mean, it's not up there with the Jim Beam, the Jack Daniels, the Bullets. Unless you really drink bourbon, you probably have never heard of this. In fact, the first time I ever saw this and was interested in it was because it had the name Elijah, which really stuck out to me. Not a common name, especially for a spirit. But if you think bourbon, back in the day, hundreds of years ago, it does make more sense. But again, I digress. Small batch, meaning it's kind of halfway between what a standard bourbon would be and a single barrel would be, more towards the single barrel. So a single barrel bourbon is a bourbon that is, each barrel is put into bottles and then they start over with another barrel. So technically speaking, you get probably a couple hundred at the most bottles per barrel, and then they bottle another barrel. So basically, bottle A will taste different than bottle B, being from barrel A and barrel B. Small batch means it's a very vague term. Again, huge companies make small batch bourbons and small companies do. Therefore, obviously, that term is going to vary significantly. However, Elijah Craig not being a very large distillery, it's going to be more towards the single barrel side. So I'd assume it would be maybe 20 to 30 barrels. Again, I could be wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But 20 to 30 barrels is one batch, and then they have another batch that they bottle. It's basically what that means. I'm sure you could talk for hours and hours on that if you knew more. I'm not going to pretend like I know something I don't, so can't say much more on that. But yeah, so that is it. Age 12 years, 94 proof. So it's a very, it's a good proof to distill a bourbon at. Anything above 90, again, it's a great thing to do. Elijah Craig, historically, he was a minister from Virginia hundreds of years ago, and he was actually ended up settling in a part of Virginia that later became Kentucky, and that's where he started his distillery, which is different than the distillery that distills it today. The one that distills it today is more of an homage to Elijah Craig. This is not the same recipe he did, so what he did would be more probably like some type of barrel cut moonshine, as most bourbons were back then. Anyways, this is yeah, he was a minister, which is kind of odd considering he also distilled. And yeah, he is credited as being the inventor of bourbon. That's kind of what he's known for historically. Now, whether that's true or not is debated. A lot of people debate that. I don't think anyone will ever know. A lot of people say it's similar to kind of who invented fire. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that we have it. Again, other people who are credited to have started distilling actual bourbon. When I say that, I mean actually roasting the barrels, charring the barrels, and then aging whiskey in it to create bourbon. Other people who are credited to it are also Evan Williams, who ironically is distilled at the same distillery, Heaven Hill, as who distills this. They distill a number of other ones, Fighting Cock, Henry McKenna, Cabin Still, just to name a few, but they distill a lot of bourbons, so this is just one of them. Yeah, so it's a low rye mash bill, meaning there's not a terribly lot of rye, but it's not a wheated bourbon. So I guess you could say it's more of an average bourbon in terms of the makeup of the mash bill. So yeah, let's get into the notes. One thing I love about this bottle too is it's got a lip, so when you pour it, it doesn't drip down the side. Very nice. Right off the bat, you get a lot of cinnamon spice with this one. Like cinnamon spiced apple fritters, freshly baked. Definitely not the McDonald's ones. I'm talking like straight out of the oven, fresh cinnamon on it, very warm. It's got a warm feeling to it. Get some lemon rind, some woody spices, a lot of spice, kind of sharp but not intrusive spice. I mean, that sharp cinnamon, freshly ground cinnamon stick. Definitely get that. You have vanilla, some oak. Definitely get a citrus, a lot of yellow fruits, citrus, back to the lemon rind. Sugar cookies, definitely get sugar cookies. You really get the granulated sugar on all throughout the nose. French toast with powdered sugar, that's an interesting one. Again, back to the cinnamon, but powdered sugar is a note I get, I think, again, to the sugar cookies, you really get the granulated, that powdery sugar. Sour Patch Kids. Almost tastes sour. Very sour. In a good way, not a bad, like, spoiled sour, but candy, sour candy. Let's give it a sip. Definitely get the oak. Get a lot of the spice, mint palate. Cherries, red fruits, red berries, hard shell candies. Back to the in the nose with the candy, and to some extent the Sour Patch Kids. You get some brown sugars. Those definitely come out. Some sweet desserts like a tiramisu. Everything's really in check. You get a lot of wood spice in the back. Settles real well in the chest. Oak, but not a lot of char. Very, very nice. One thing I won't do tonight, but a little bit of water or ice definitely does not take anything from a bourbon that's clearly under 100 proof. At 94 proof, usually I wouldn't want to water my bourbon down, especially with ice, but it really, really is nice with ice. Perfect summer drink. Summer bourbon sip, very nice. The finish, you get that caramel, a little bit of the barrel char. It's a medium spice finish, nothing too long, but it's definitely not short. Very like candied walnuts, candied peanuts, definitely get that. That woody candied shell. Also, you get some paper, kind of like a pencil lead paper. I guess that would be part almost bitter, but yeah, it's interesting. I get that with some single malt scotches, but not usually a bourbon. You definitely get that here. If you get some pie crust also. Pie crust, like if you're gonna eat a pie, there's that wet crust underneath. Definitely get that coming to the flaky crust. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers.